feeling quite dysregulated and having a bit of a difficult moment. I just came back from a walk in the park, and it was quite warm outside, and it was quite busy as well. So there's a lot of people there. And apologies for the sound. I haven't got my microphone plugged in, and I don't want to talk too loud because I've got the windows open, so sometimes it can feel like it's not as private. And I was doing my best just to walk around. I had my headphones on and had a podcast playing, and just felt a little bit paranoid of people looking at me, and I just did my best to kind of look at the floor pretty much and just get my just get a bit of exercise in, and a tiny bit of sunlight, and I was having trouble getting my words out. It's really frustrating. Kind of started feeling a bit the way I am now. I had some ideas to try and create some more content to perhaps in a healthy way push myself to do that, whether it's more podcast episodes or more especially more TV show and movie reaction videos on that channel as well. And I may still do. I'm not sure. I'm just feeling that just trying to gauge my energy for it, and also look forward, look ahead, and just kind of gauge whether that's worth my time, whether that's going to be healthy for me to do, to have that focus, whether it's going to be overwhelming, whether it's going to be too much for me to do. And I was just trying to sort of gauge all of that. And it's hard to explain, but I can kind of have this sort of feeling and sense and thoughts, but it's just hard to put it into words. But I think I had the sense to want to do something, healthily move forward with something. I think there's like paranoid thoughts of what other people have maybe think of me or how they see me, and maybe you think I'm just sort of wasting away, or I'm not doing anything to try and make myself better, and maybe these are just intrusive thoughts, perhaps. And I guess there's always sort of notions of wanting to kind of grow and move forward despite the symptoms I'm going through. But it's also at the same time feels like I'm maxing out with just doing what I am in a day of like getting out for walks, for trying to manage food, manage like showers as well. I've had some more skin issues. I've got like put on some creams in the morning, so that takes a lot of energy as well, and sort of managing food and managing my energy with trying to sort of see friends and stay in touch with friends, which is always a struggle for me to do. And it's really, I find it, my mind feels really unstable with kind of sort of going into stressful thoughts and trying to stay there and trying to think, okay, in this case it was creating more content, and so was that something something productive to do, some achievement as well in that. And then it's hard to find center again, to find stability in those thoughts. I feel like as soon as I go out of my comfort zone, everything just sort of goes blurry or goes, things just become very difficult, and it's just a bit frustrating. I'm also struggling with food as well. I feel like there's a lot of black and white sort of behavior and thinking. So like I'd either like completely fast a lot and try and eat healthy as I can, and it's really hard to sprinkle in sort of meals that maybe not as healthy, but also allows me to not restrict as well, because for me to continue fasting and try and eat healthy, it's also adds stress to my body because it's difficult to fast, and it also affects my energy as well. So I don't really know what to do, to be honest with that. Like today, I didn't know really what to have for lunch. I had these vegan these mini Chicago Town pizzas, and I just thought, okay, should I have that? And I was thinking, no, it's not. Maybe that's not as too healthy. It's not super unhealthy because I don't think there's a lot of fat in those things. But I ended up, I've had these sort of, I've got a few packets of like vegetarian sausages and falafel stuff. So I had a few of these sort of vegetable sausages that are made out of like cauliflower. I think there's some chickpea in there as well for falafel, and some, I don't know if you use butter beans or something. So I had kind of 3 of those and a sort of bowl of salad. It just felt like a weird sort of meal to have. It wasn't, it just felt, I knew I can't sustain doing that each day because it just feels like it's super restricting. I've made some sort of lentils, black lentils, which is a bit easier on my tummy than red lentils. And before I went out to the park, I had them in the pressure cooker, and I just turned it off and allow it to continue cooking. So I can have that tonight. And yeah, I just feel like I'm really on the edge of everything at the moment. I'm on the edge of food-wise, like I'm stretching myself with the fasting and food. I don't know what's a release valve for it, because if I have something really unhealthy, then I don't know how that's gonna affect me, if I'm just gonna go downhill from there. Or I think in this past week or 2 I have had some unhealthy meals, and I think I've just gone back to fasting. It's been maybe a little bit of maybe partly reaction, but also partly to try and cleanse what I had eaten with a fast. And it just feels like everything right now is too much of a, don't know what the word is, but bouncing back and forth from one spectrum to the other. I just can't seem to find a middle ground or find a place of rest and stability. It just feels like I'm either fasting because I need to, I'm on this sort of pre-diabetic diagnosis, and I need to still like do some active stuff to help that, but also it's hard not to completely restrict food. Yeah, and it just feels like I'm kind of living life in a stationary place in some ways. I feel like what would help is to focus on spirituality, because it all kind of makes sense. It doesn't feel like anything's a waste, or anything's like, even if I'm not doing things of typical like achievement in my day, that I am, doing something a lot deeper in that sense. So I think that's perhaps good for me to say it out loud and to do it, because I have, it's in my mind, but to actually do it and feel the benefit of it, that's what I need to do right now. I think just to, something I'd be doing as well is just saying to myself, hey, just do a minute or a few seconds of an activity or something, or it's washing the dishes or this, and it just allows me to at least start the flow of an activity, and usually it goes on for longer, versus the thought of doing something and there's just a complete block around it. There's no accessibility to it. So maybe I can do that with presence as well, of just maybe after I've stopped this recording, just to do, a minute of just sitting and trying to be still and present, and then go from there. Again, it's just so much I want to say. I feel like a pressure cooker really with things. One thing I've been really paranoid about recently is benefits. It's just I'm still in this sort of holding period. My assessment hasn't happened, and I'm feeling the stress of that because there's a thought of there's a fear of not being, my health not being seen as it is. Perhaps in terms of a fear of misrepresenting myself and coming across a lot more well, and my challenges not being seen. And there's a lot of fear and frustration and anger in that. And I feel like I just can't get myself going to do anything at the moment. There's the thought of wanting to record a spiritual podcast episode, and I just can't get myself to do it. So I'm just trying to be okay with that and just to allow that process to take place of, when I am able to record, I will. The same with the vlogs already. I've been wanting to record the last few days, and I just haven't been able to get myself to do it. So it just feels like I'm kind of sort of bumbling through my days really. And it's just hard to express what I'm feeling right now, but maybe just in a very broad way, just a bit unstable. Maybe just dysregulation is a good word, maybe. So I need to kind of regulate myself. And I talked previously about the CPTSD stuff. So I think I just regulate myself, maybe not put any more thought or stress into the idea of creating of that stuff for the moment, as much as my mind wants to keep sort of spinning those thoughts and trying to resolve that and come to a conclusion. But I think it's just sort of making me spiral. So it's going back to basics really, just a few minutes of presence, cooking the food. I've got to finish off the lentils, and I've got there's a chess tournament on that's happening at the moment, which I'm trying to watch, so maybe that would be good for me to have that on, which starts quite soon, so maybe that's a good grounding thing for me to do, and maybe I can try and sort of soothe the sense of not achieving and not being productive, and try and be okay with whatever I'm able to cope with right now. It is really difficult. So I think if there's anything else I want to say before ending this, I hope at some point maybe I could find some more balance with my food, and maybe some more balance with my fasting, because it's not, I know I'm not in a healthy place. Like for the last 2 days, I think I've just had 2 meals. I've had, so yesterday I had 1 meal, and today so far it's like gone 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I've just had that meal, which is quite insubstantial maybe, of just a bowl of salad, and then I'm going to have maybe some lentils tonight, and I'm just always, right now I'm feeling really hungry, so again it's that capacity to think clearly, to think, is it okay to have something to eat, or should I wait until dinner? And I feel like I'm in this difficult flow where I don't know what is okay and what is not okay for me to do right now. And it sounds strange, if you're hungry, should I eat? And part of me is thinking, of course you should. It's, I'm thinking about reducing my sort of fat around, my level of fat and sugar in my body. So not to eat too much. One thing I need to do is actually, when I got diagnosed with the pre-diabetic, they gave me this sort of course to join, and I tried to join it, but I didn't hear back, I don't think, and I've just left it all this time. So maybe right now, as I'm recording, maybe I can just pull out some of these papers and see if it's in here. So I just can't get myself to do it. But pull out all this paperwork, see what's going on here. Apologies for the weird camera angle. So what's that? That's something else. Maybe it's this letter here. What's this letter? No, that's not it. I keep pulling stuff out and making a mess, but it's the only way I'm gonna get myself to do this, really. So must be this, perhaps. Yep, I think this is an NHS diabetes prevention program. So I'm gonna do my presence and then join this course, and then Put all this stuff back. Got to sort through. I did sort through my I had this old folder full of documents, and a lot of it was old documents. So I managed to sort through most of it, but now there's just another sort of mini pile of what's left over. So I need to kind of make a new home for any sort of paperwork that's happening. I used 2 hands after I finished. Difficult thing about this is, when I talk about it, it kind of makes, I don't know if it makes it worse, but I feel a lot more on edge and more unwell than it's weird. In some ways it makes me feel it makes me come across more unwell than I am, but it also doesn't. At the same time, I realise I've got some real challenges here. I'm just good at sort of smoothing over the surface a bit, not essentially masking in some respects, but just sort of barely managing. So, especially when I come across talking to people, usually it's more of in a calm way, but here it's usually all of the stuff comes to the surface. So I'm not sure if that's a good or bad thing. I'm just going to try and be okay with whatever's going on right now, what I'm doing. Trying to be okay with the food I'm having, trying to be okay with watching the chess and just doing that this afternoon. I'm going to end this now and get to do some mindfulness and regulate myself. See how that goes.